As for the matter of drinking, I have never tasted intoxicating liquor, and never intend to, having a strong aesthetic disgust at anything which blunts or coarsens the delicate natural equipoise of the evolved human intellect and imagination. Of course, I am not a modern. Indeed, I said some time ago that my only point of contact with the younger generation is an abstract philosophical and scientific perspective. My mind recognizes the accuracy of their abstract view of the universe, but my tastes and habits remain true to the traditions of a long line of conservative country gentry. I refuse to be dictated to by the superficial customs of any age and place. Drinking excited my personal repugnance, hence I don't drink. Let the herd do what they will. I am rather in favor of prohibition, the prohibition of any one antisocial force as well as of any other. Prohibition of murder can't be enforced. See any day's news as evidence. Yet I haven't heard of any movement for the repeal of laws against homicide. Of course, the parallel is an overdrawn one, but I think it is at least theoretically true. The existence of intoxicating drink is certainly an almost unrelieved evil from the point of view of an orderly and delicately cultivated civilization, for I can't see that it does much save coarsen, animalize, and degrade. Any step to get rid of it is to be welcomed, just as any step to get rid of murder, robbery, and forgery is to be welcomed. And the only criticisms one can make of prohibitory legislation is that which pertains to its effectiveness and enforcement. Here, of course, the wets have the best of it, for obviously the application of the present law has not even begun to approach the expectations of its proponents. Apparently, the alcohol sponges craved their hard liquor far more desperately than less habit-chained persons could realize, or else alcohol dispensers craved their financial profit more desperately than less commercial souls could understand. At any rate, be the motive force thirst or lucre, it is clear that legislation has been resisted far more stubbornly than one could have foreseen. This, to a cynical soul, brings up the question of whether or not the law is worth the trouble of enforcing. Granting that alcohol is an antisocial force, is it antisocial enough, as compared with murder, robbery, etc., to warrant the expenditure of infinite money and energy without securing any better results than have so far appeared? This I am beginning to doubt. In 1919, I was a wholehearted prohibitionist, but in 1928, I am more or less neutral. First, let someone, if possible, get at the real facts of the legislative results without obscuring the mock data so profusely supplied by the partisans of both sides. Then, if no marked sociological improvement is disclosed, let the law pass into peaceful obsolescence. In a matter of alternative evils like that of legalized liquor versus futile and troublesome prohibition, one may merely choose the lesser after deciding which is the lesser. I don't think the cheap slogan of personal liberty means much one way or the other. Liberty to drink rum is theoretically indistinguishable from liberty to take narcotic drugs or set fire to one's neighbor's houses. The law ought to be able to prohibit any practice whose degree of harmfulness makes it worth prohibiting, if we make any pretense of having an orderly civilization. As to this question of degree, in my opinion, the evil of liquor is amply sufficient to justify at least one large-scale prohibitionary experiment. It is useless to point out that some people can use liquor without harmful social results, since for everyone who can, there are 100 who can't. The only conceivable way to stop the trouble is to cut off the whole supply of the provocative material. But as I have just admitted, the practical difficulties of enforcement seem well nigh insuperable, so that no cynic could now be a dogmatic prohibitionist. With so many other destroying agencies at work, liquor may well be classed as a minor evil, and after all, it does not greatly matter whether or not civilization decays, or at what speed it decays. I am no longer interested in the question, except through reminiscences of my own former interest. It is an aesthetic matter with me. I think drink is ugly, and therefore I have nothing to do with it. This aesthetic position, by the way, may sound off for one who professes to be a conservative, since of course all our respected forebears indulged in the flowing bowl to such an extent as to make fishes seem land animals by comparison. I think my own paternal great-great-grandfather could have drunk any young modern cake-eater under the table without shaking a bit of powder from his Albemarle tie wig, nor do I think any the less of him for it. I thought it did no good to his fortune, but conservatism admits of a slow aesthetic growth and subtilization along with the retention of time-honored essentials. And I cannot but feel that the finer-grained life of the 19th century represented in many ways a normal and wholesome advance over the bluff coarseness of my beloved 18th, despite the dullness and hypocritical extravagances of Victorianism in its extremist form. One phase of that refinement was a radical moderation in the consumption of strong drink, and while many persons and households were content to let the evolution stop at that point, my own aesthetic theory cannot help carrying it onward to the ideal of total extinction. Let the graces of wine live in literature. Its function in the life of a delicate and fastidious civilization would seem to me definitely outmoded. In my own family, wine has been banished for 3 generations, and only about a quarter of the conservative homes of this section retain any regular use of it. Any person with the least character or independence in his voice can manage to be a total abstainer without giving anybody offense or creating any social contretemps. Of course, I don't know much about the younger generation en masse, but at least 3 youths of my acquaintance are total abstainers despite the much advertised flamingness of their contemporaries.